Yeehaw, everyone. Welcome.
Howdy, thanks for tuning in to the Pop Girlies radio.
Oh,
That's good. Pop girlies are a funny concept, aren't they?
that pop girly Virgo shit.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me. That's so funny. Like this, like Pop Girl, like if Pop Girlies was structured like a radio broadcast, like, the possibilities are endless.
But instead of Dolly P, we have the Queen, honey.
Right.
It's Madonna.
Honestly, both the Queen honeys, Madonna, and then your mom, Karen.
And and my mom.
Hi, Karen.
Hey girl.
Hey, girl.
Well, yay. Well, hey everybody. Thanks for tuning in. As you know, we'll be talking about Cowboy Carter today. It's very exciting. So hope everyone's ready. But yeah, how are you two? We'll jump into our hot tracks and we'll talk about the album. But yeah, wanting to see how everyone's doing.
We're living.
Yeah, we're laughing, living, loving all of the L's. Well, that sounds bad because L's are bad. All the good L's.
Yeah, very that.
How are you, Maria?
Yeah, how are you? You asked the question.
Well, I'm good. A little bit frazzled just because I'm moving. So I've got
Oh,
boxes all
yeah.
over my room. Everything's out of order. So my brain feels a little bit disorganized, but excited to get all of my stuff out of here.
Not
Yeah.
out of Chicago, to clarify. The pop girlies will
To
still
clarify.
be okay. Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
actually be
Just
closer together,
I
in
was gonna
case
say
yeah.
we're
anybody
all
was
gonna be closer
curious.
together. So
No, I feel that, Maria. I'm traveling tomorrow. I have a big travel day, so I'm kind of feeling frazzled. Like I've done a bit of packing, I need to do more. So I understand that kind of frazzled feeling. And moving is the worst. I think moving is like
It's like the worst thing ever.
it's one of the worst things that you could do. It's like worse than any kind of medieval torture. It's absolutely despicable.
I'm guessing it's the same like when you're moving houses as like moving in a city. Like I'm sure that they're different, but I'm sure they're both equally awful.
Moving in a city, trying to find a
It's
place to
so
park a
bad.
U-Haul is like
it's so bad.
it's horrible.
And last time I moved here in the city, it rained that day. Like, luckily,
Oh.
it
Oh,
wasn't like bad, bad, bad. It was like misty kind of rain, but it was like just enough to be annoying and still like, okay, well, all the
yeah.
stuff is still wet, you
Well, do
know?
you ever think about the people who have like lease renewals in like December or January?
Yeah.
Ugh, that's
I
so
think about that all the
gross.
time. It's like, what would I be doing? Because I've only ever had to move like in the summer when it's nice outside, and obviously
Yeah,
it can get hot or whatever. But if it's like so cold, but you have to move, like you can't do anything. You have to move.
you have to move.
Ugh.
Well, also it's one of those things too, no matter like how fun of a group you can put together to help you move, like I feel like it will still never be enjoyable.
No, it's not fun.
No.
And I'm a cheap ass and I never hire movers. And then every single time I'm in the middle of moving, I'm like, I'm the stupidest idiot in the world. I need to hire movers.
It's so funny because like the first box that I packed, I was like, well, naturally I'm going to put like all of the same item in one box. So I put all of my books in one box and it's the most unmovable heavy box on the planet. And I was like, all right, so there's no brain in my skull, but we're gonna just keep going.
Are you doing movers, Maria?
Yes.
Come on, bougie.
Come on, bougie. So yeah, getting some assistance. And
Thank God.
the fam's gonna be in town. So Karen better pull up.
Yeah. Well, should we get into hot tracks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
Who didn't go first last time? There was somebody who like didn't want to go first.
I didn't go first. Do you
Well,
want me to go
you
first today?
it is written in the scripture. You have to go first.
Whoa. Um, I was having a hard time finding a hot track. Uh, but the one that I landed on, it was a song that I listened to on the bus yesterday. Um, and I was just like, I just love this song. It's a song from like middle school that I was really obsessed with. Um, and today I was on Twitter and I saw that the song debuted on the Billboard chart. And so I was like, well, I gotta pick it as my hot track. So I'm choosing Ribs by Lorde.
Yes! Oh
Gag.
my God. This dream isn't
It's my
feeling
favorite
sweet.
Lorde song. And
Great
I
it
pick.
just
mean,
like it just kind of came. I don't know why I listened to it yesterday, but I was like, I'm really feeling. I think because it's on the top of her in Apple Music, I think it's her most listened to song. Like I think it's like the first song
Oh,
that pops up.
oh, that's cool.
So I was like, I'm gonna listen to Ribs, and it like every time you listen to it, it's like
I'm gonna tell
it's
you,
just
there's
good.
nothing better. There was nothing better than being a teenager when Pure Heroin came
Oh,
out.
oh,
nothing better.
Like the children, they don't know. They get
They
Tate
don't know.
McRae. We got Pure Heroin.
for
Like,
real.
there's just no comparison.
Also, I know I mentioned this before when we talked about Marina, because there was this girl who was older than me that I used to figure skate with who would like play her own music in the rink, and I thought she was so cool. She would also play Glory and Gore all the time.
Oh, great
I was
That's
song.
like,
such like a
oh,
cool like middle schooler thing to play.
yeah. I was like, oh my God,
That
she's so cool.
the tour that Lorde did for Pure Heroin, I think is like a top five all-time concert for me. Like that, it was insane seeing that.
She's such a great live performer. She has such a
Yeah,
unique
she's
energy.
so good.
She really, at the Solar Power Tour, she talked about how this song is a spell right before she sang. Was it right before she sang Solar Powers when she said
Yeah, it
that,
was
Drew?
the title track. Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like every single song she sings is a spell. Like she really casts an
Yes.
enchantment over the audience. And like it's like you're witnessing some kind of magic happen.
Yeah. I remember before she did Ribs at
Oh my God.
the Pure Heroin tour concert that I went to in Kansas City, she was like talking about how this she went on like I literally think it was like a 10-minute rant about like the party that the song was about that she wrote it about. And then it just like ended up like perfectly transitioning into the intro of the song. But I'm like, how did the person like controlling the computer know in her telling the story what part to like press
Oh,
like
that's so
play
cool.
on? But it was so good. I
Uh,
wonder if I still have the video.
I
Oh, but
love
yeah,
ribs.
Ribs is everything.
Okay, who's
Obsessed.
gonna go next, Drew? You pick.
Levi, you can go next.
Awesome. Well, like I just said earlier, I'm traveling tomorrow. I'm feeling, you know that Countess Luann meme where she goes, he wants to marry me, and then she like bounces up and down. That's the energy that I feel, except I'm going to London and I'm bouncing up and down. I keep
I'm going
doing
to
that to
London.
myself. I'm going back to London. I'm so excited. I went in August with my mom, and it was the most beautiful, wonderful trip. And I'm going back for like about a week. I'm going with two of my good friends from college, and I'm feeling very excited. I'm literally so excited. It's the only thing I think about, and it's the only thing I've been talking about. I've been at this conference the last few days, and I literally, oh my God, this was actually maybe it was mean to me. I don't really care though. But one of my coworkers, we were giving this presentation. We were about to give like a presentation at the conference, and my coworker was like, "Yeah, are you nervous? Like, how are you feeling?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just thinking about my trip. Like, sorry, babes." He's like, "Oh." But I'm just so excited. And so in honor of that, I am going to pick London Boy by Taylor Swift as my hot track. Such a
Naturally.
cheesy, fun, beautiful, silly song. And when I was there, we went to the Eras tour and I got to hear her sing that live, which was so cool. It was the first time that she had sung it on the Eras tour. So yeah, because I love a London boy. Just everyone knows that.
So then what are you going to say when you leave?
So long, London. So long, London.
Yep, exactly.
It's just like the best
All
city
right.
in the world. Sorry, New York. Sorry, anything else. It's just better than everything.
I love London.
You do?
Not I love New York.
Oh,
No,
you do.
I was making a joke. I'm sorry.
I love London. There we go.
Love.
Okay, Maria,
Okay.
you go.
Well, I'll do my hot track. Okay, so I'm actually going to choose a Beyonce song. We're talking about Beyonce today, but I'm going to choose a Beyonce song because I've also been listening to it a whole bunch. And it's actually a B-side from I Am Sasha Fierce, and it's Why Don't You Love Me,
You were talking
if you
about
guys are
this the other
familiar.
day.
I was talking about it the other day, but the song is so good. It's so incredible. And I was completely gagged when it appeared on the set list for the Cowboy Carter tour.
Oh wow, it's on the
It's on the
list.
set
Yeah.
list.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
I think it's one that is like kind of squished in between a couple songs. Like I don't think she plays the whole thing. I could be wrong, but was like super gagged. But the song is just so good and it has the gaggiest ending ever because the whole song is like, why don't you love me? I give you so much to love. Like, what's the deal? Why don't you need me? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the song ends with her saying, well, maybe you're just not the one, or maybe you're just plain.
Oh.
And like plain, I think is such an awesome jab at somebody like, well, you don't love me because you're too plain. So I'm just like eating that up. I think the song is so good. I'm obsessed with it. So
I love that.
yeah. So that's my hot track. But yeah, I think that's it.
Tea.
Yeah. Cool. Well, are we ready to get into some discussing on Cowboy Carter?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, let's do it. I'm so excited to talk about this. So yeah, as we know, Cowboy Carter is the second album in Beyonce's three-act trilogy. It's also Beyonce's eighth studio album, and it was released on March 29th, 2024. So it's a little bit over a year old at this point. It has an aggregate score on Metacritic of 91, which is very good. It also has an 8.4 from Pitchfork, and it got the best new music notation for that specific week that it was reviewed. The singles from the album were Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages, which both got released on the same night, on the night of the Super Bowl in 2024, which was also very gaggy because everyone like kind of knew that she was going to be dropping something, and it was very intertwined with her ad that she had done with Verizon because the ad, when it aired live, ended with her being like, okay, drop the new music. And I just remember sitting on the couch with one of my roommates and I was just like absolutely gagging. So yeah, those two songs dropped at the exact same time. But this album itself is such an incredible piece of work. It's also a concept album, but it features guest appearances from up and coming country artists such as Tanner Adele, Tierra Kennedy, Raina Reynolds, Shabuzi, and Brittany Spencer. And also collaborations from very well-known artists such as Post Malone, Willie Nelson, and Miley Cyrus, and also has some features from Linda Martell, as well as Dolly Parton. So super duper stacked collaboration on this album, which is super cool, and it's like very apparent as you listen to it. So again, it's the second in the trilogy of albums following Renaissance, and Cowboy Carter is essentially a journey through the reinvention of Americana, which spotlights the overlooked contributions of Black pioneers to American musical and cultural history. So, in some, the genres, it's obviously very genre expanding, but can be pinned down as country, Americana, blues, folk, and R&B. And conceptually, the album is presented as a radio broadcast with country singers Donna Parton, or excuse me, oh my God, Dolly Parton, Linda Martell, and Willie Nelson acting as DJs. Also, very cool to note that there are instrumental contributions from Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney, Nile Rodgers, Gary Clark Jr., and John Batiste. The album itself, simply put, was met with universal critical acclaim and not only increased the listenership of country music, but also increased the popularity of Western wear and just the culture of, cowboys and Western aesthetic, and boosted the careers of multiple rising country artists, the ones listed above. The album itself got 11 Grammy nominations, which made it the third most nominated album in history. It won Best Country Duo slash Group Performance for Two Most Wanted with Miley Cyrus, Best Country Album, and Album of the Year. So, a little bit more about the background. As many people know, Beyonce was born and raised in Houston, and the city's country cowboy heritage and music played a huge role in her upbringing and had a lot of influence on her. But the Cowboy Carter album kind of genesis largely comes from Beyonce's experience at the Country Music Awards in 2016. She performed her song Daddy Lessons, which is on her album Lemonade, with the Chicks. And that performance was met with a ton of backlash from those in the country community, many people saying that she didn't belong in the genre. And the Country Music Association, actually following all of that backlash, kind of gave into that pressure from their typical demographic and deleted a lot of posts and videos about Beyonce even having performed at their awards show. And this experience majorly contributed to what we now have as Cowboy Carter, which I think is extremely profound. And even with that experience, the Recording Academy had actually rejected Daddy Lessons for consideration for winning a Grammy, claiming that it wasn't country enough. So, the album itself was actually recorded from 2019 to 2024. So, conceptually, this had actually come about before the COVID-19 pandemic and had begun recording before Renaissance. So, Beyonce had switched the order of the trilogy in response to the pandemic, knowing that she wanted Renaissance to come out earlier than that because we had all been so locked up in our homes and wanted us to kind of have that experience of just being able to dance together once the album had come out, which I thought was super special. And I know like that had a big impact on me personally. But yeah, the recording of this album spanned like almost 5 years. Something I did want to also mention is that this album, although it does lack music videos, as we all know, there's a super duper cool photo shoot. I mean, a ton of photos that go along with this album. There's like a photo book that I know she had been selling. But there's a lot of different alternate covers for Cowboy Carter, one of which features Beyonce with just a sash over her that actually says Act Two Beyonce instead of Beyonce. And that actually has a little bit more of a backstory. And Beyonce is Tina Knowles, her mother's maiden name. And it was misspelled on her birth certificate and never corrected to Beyonce. So she had named her daughter after her maiden name, but that does kind of come about a couple times throughout the album, especially during Yaya. So I kind of wanted to mention that because I think it's just a really interesting bit of backstory there. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to touch upon as far as backstory because I feel like, you know, our discussion, I'm just like really looking forward to our discussion and hearing your guys' thoughts on it because there's so much going on here and there's so many different interludes and everything I think just has like such a rich context. So I'm very much looking forward to your guys' thoughts. But yeah, that is my backstory on the album.
Yay, Maria. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Well, thanks. Well, I will have Drew go first.
Cool. Um, yeah, so I love Beyonce, huge Beyonce fan. Renaissance is one of like my favorite albums of all time. So I was like very much anticipating this project. And I remember like watching the Super Bowl. I think I was Levi, were we watching it together?
Yeah, we were together.
Yeah, yeah. And when the ad came out, we were like, what is going on? Yeah, it was just it's kind of crazy how like how it just is so cool. I could you imagine being someone like Beyonce or like Taylor Swift where like this the Super Bowl is like your platform to like
No,
announce something like
it's crazy.
that I always think about that when I am listening to this. I'm like, I cannot believe like the Super Bowl was the platform in which she announced like what she was working on. Like that's just like insane. Um but yeah, I was really looking forward to this. Uh I was kind of like with the first two singles, I was kind of um a little bit, I mean, to be honest, I was a little bit underwhelmed, like especially coming from Renaissance. And I think that that's going to be like a common thread with me for this. I think it's like near impossible to follow something like Renaissance up, but especially like when it's something like the act two of Renaissance and like so close to the tail end of like the Renaissance era. Um but listening to it with some time away from it, I was still like so impressed. I mean, like it's kind of one of those things where, she's so great as an artist where it's kind of hard to say like something is bad or something, but it's so hard to not compare it to Renaissance, which is something that um I love so much. So it's definitely hard to judge this one, but I think like a huge part of it for me that the only thing that I will say that I like actively dislike is um I hate, and this is like a cosmetic thing, I guess. I hate the use of like the two eyes in all of the track titles.
Mm,
Hmm.
I uh-uh. No, do y'all have a thought about that or like
it doesn't bother. I literally have
it
not thought
doesn't at
about it
all?
until you said it. Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't,
mean,
yeah.
that's the only thing that like sends chills down my spine, to be completely honest. And I don't like how it's like not consistent. Like 16 carriages, the I in 16 carriages doesn't have one. And then like the two eyes can also be used as like the numeral two. What I don't know. It just to me that just it's not aesthetically pleasing at all. But that's literally the only thing that I will say that I actually don't like about this. I I think if this would have come first in the trilogy, I think I would have had a lot more respect for it. I guess I don't know, not respect for it. I guess I would have liked it more, I think. Um, but yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know what else to say, to be completely honest. I love her like her branch of country and like what she's trying to like tell how she's doing like her own individual thing with it. It reminds me a lot of not they're not similar in sound, but it reminds me a lot of Casey Musgraves and what she did with Golden Hour. Um, kind of just like going in her own tangent and kind of being confident in that lane. Like I love how a lot of the press of this album was Beyonce saying, this isn't a country album. This is a Beyonce album, which I love because I think that that's really accurate. But I don't like the kind of press she got, especially after winning album of the year and like country album. I hate that so many people were still trying to discount whether or not it was a country album or not. I
Yeah.
just like I didn't love that.
Well,
Because
genres are a funny thing. Genres are a funny
yeah,
little
They're a fun
I
concept.
also
concept.
just like I think it is a country album. Like someone who loves country music, I would consider this a country album. I think
Well, and especially with like country music now being something that is a lot more malleable, like
yeah.
country music sounds like a lot of different things. I mean, Golden Hour, which is an album that all three of us love, won country album and album of the year at the Grammy Awards. And like there's vocoder and synths on that
Yeah.
album,
Yeah.
So it's like, I think I don't know, I think it's pretty clear to me that like a lot of the motivating factors behind this debate over whether Beyonce is a country artist is racism. Like it just whether it's explicit or, under the surface, whatever. Like ultimately, I think if a white artist released this body of work, there'd be no question about whether or not it was a country album. Like it's just so obvious to me that it's because she's black and because she's who she is, and so much her blackness is such an important part of her artistry and her identity as a performer and entertainer and everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like this. Yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna. I was waiting to get into like my tracks, but yeah, I really
Sure.
love this. But the only thing I wanted to talk about that I had on my list was Two Eyes. That's the only thing I wrote down besides my top three.
Girl,
But I'm
that's
Because
glad it
then it's
didn't
like,
bother any of y'all.
well, then it's like Act Three. Is every eye going to be
Oh,
three
no, 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 no,
eyes?
no, no. Stop.
I mean, it's setting a precedent for sure.
I don't know if I'll get to this in my top threes, but I love her because Renaissance, famously didn't have and we talked a lot about Cowboy Carter on the Renaissance episode, and I got to like share a lot of my thoughts on it there. But I love the collaborations that I know Maria touched on it in her kind of um thing about the album, but yeah, I love like Miley Cyrus is someone that she is kind of one of those people who branches into country a lot in her songs, but I don't think she would ever be considered like a country artist. And I love their collaboration together, and I love how like it sounds like an old country song, which I think is so cool. And her voice is so country because obviously she, was raised by a famous country singer. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I love because Renaissance obviously it had like a few collaborations, but nothing like there wasn't a duet on Renaissance or anything like that. So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I think also with all the interludes coming in, like the radio show element of the album, to me, it really feels like a community. Like
Yeah,
Renaissance is
Hmm.
the Beyonce show. And even though, we hear a Grace Jones or whatever, like it's Beyonce, 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 Beyonce. And like obviously she is still the captain of this ship, but it feels like a collective kind of,
yeah,
you know, experience. And there's all these different people coming in. I mean, my God, Blackbird features four different artists, all singing and doing the harmonies and whatever. And you hear so many different voices, which I don't know, I feel like it maybe is representative of the way that like country music is the kind of music that like unites people and like brings it together. I mean, I guess like at
totally.
its core. I think that's a good point, Drew.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna stop like blabbering.
Girl, you're not blabbering at all. You said like
I know.
you had one
I just
point.
I was gonna say, are you gonna talk about Taylor?
No. Oh, I
Leave
mean
it.
how
Okay.
how she's singing on
Oh, she's
Bodyguard.
on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't give a shit what anybody says. She is the background vocalist in Bodyguard. I don't care. I don't buy into conspiracy theories.
We know that Blondie girl's voice when we hear it.
That's just not what Beyonce doesn't sound like that. That's not what Beyonce like. That is Taylor Swift doing the ahs. I don't give a shit what anybody else says. Maria,
There we
why are you
go.
making faces?
I mean, I personally don't subscribe to the belief, but
Well, that's amazing for you, but you're wrong.
oh, okay. I'm just saying. That's my belief.
Okay, you're cool.
What else do you want me to say? I mean, we're all sitting here in silence. I just said my opinion.
Well, you said one thing. Like you said one thing. You shut down everything.
I had nothing else to add. I'm sorry. Continue. Is Taylor on the
I,
song?
is what?
Well, girl, you said you don't think she is.
I'm being silly on purpose.
Um, there's also covers on this that I like. That is not. Wait, are there covers on Renaissance?
No.
Oh, see, like it's so different. Like I wish we would have gotten like a decade between these two, and I wish that they were not like presented in a trilogy sort of thing. Or maybe I just wish the order had been different because I think there's a world where this could be like a high nine album for me. But Yeah. We're also talking about this like in the retrospect of like the whole Renaissance era where like that album like really did a lot. Like I was so invested in that whole album. It really got me hooked on Beyoncé too. Like I'd always loved her, but that album like really got me invested in like her artistry and all of that. Like it's my favorite concert that I've ever been to was the Renaissance tour. So I think it's hard to this is like one of the hardest like albums I think I've had to talk about on the podcast, to be honest, because it's like it's so good, but it's also like there's not a lot that I can pick apart, but it's just like I guess all you can say is Renaissance, you know?
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
Renaissance.
well,
Yeah, I know both of you have like good thoughts on the structure of the album that I don't want to like try to talk about because I don't think the words would come out properly, but I'm excited to hear what both of you have to say about it.
Well, do you want me to go? Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because I know that you guys both have that like very close relationship with Renaissance, and obviously our very first episode was about that. So if, any new listeners don't know what our thoughts on Renaissance are, pause this one, go play that one, and then come right back here. I don't know why I said that so weird. But yeah, I don't have that relationship with Renaissance. I mean, I think Renaissance is like a really terrific piece of music, but it just, I think for a variety of reasons, it just didn't connect with me emotionally in the way that it connected with Maria and Drew. And I know so many people, I know that's such a special album for so many people, but at the end of the day, like I think just the technical excellence of it is pretty undeniable. Like that's just a level of craftsmanship that I think most people can only ever dream of aspiring to. It's just really beautifully made. And so I think that like kind of whatever followed that was going to be interesting. And I appreciate that even though it belongs in this overall project, this trilogy, that Cowboy Carter is completely different. Like it's not like the country version of Renaissance. It is a incredibly different piece of music, body of work, top to bottom. Everything about it is very, very different. And I think that kind of does a good job at delineating Renaissance versus Cowboy Carter. And yeah, it's interesting to think about what would have happened if, she had done what she originally intended to do, which is to release Cowboy Carter first. I don't really know like what the response would have been, to be honest with you. And something I was thinking about was like, what would the Grammys would have been like? Because I think something that fueled Cowboy Carter's win, not to take anything away from the quality of the music and the way that people responded to it, but I mean, of course, there's that like overdue factor that just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew with Beyonce. I mean, she was widely expected to win for her self-titled album, then she didn't win. And then she was widely expected to win for Lemonade, and then she didn't win. Then she was, expected to finally get it for Renaissance, then she didn't win. And so, I wonder like if Cowboy Carter had come out in 2022, like does that beat Harry's House? Like, and then are we living in a completely different world where I don't know, maybe something else won album of the year, or maybe she has two album of the year. It's like I don't know. I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Or maybe like Cowboy Carter doesn't win, and then does Renaissance win? I don't know. I think that kind of stuff is interesting to think about. But yeah, I understand Drew's maybe like journey of trying to find the words to talk about this album because I think this is a very overwhelming piece of music to think about and let alone discuss. There's just so many things happening here, and honestly, I kind of like view it more as like a thesis. Like this to me feels like what a PhD student presents when they're defending their thesis. Like this is so intellectual. It is so layered, complex, and dense. And I think that, she has always been such a historian of music. She's always really been able to reference different moments from music history, not just pop culture history, but music history. And, really heighten the depth and impact of her music by, putting it in its place with regards to American music history. And this album is just in complete conversation with the history of American music. And obviously, I mean, this is a record that is really about uh, the ways that Black musicians were erased from the history of country music and folk music. I mean, this whole project is a reclamation of sorts of the genres that really started in the Black community and then were taken over by, the white listeners. And I think this being a country album, which is currently, I mean, thought of as such a white genre. I think it's pretty radical in a lot of ways to have this conversation. And so, just kind of before digging into it, I think it's important for me to note that obviously I'm a white person talking about this record. And so I think there's just maybe like levels to this that I don't have the capacity to like fully connect with or really understand on that emotional level that a person of color would. And I think that's like normal. I think it would be weird if I pretended like I could have access to that kind of like emotional response when that's just not the case. And I think it's like kind of, uh, a white person's like responsibility to be like, okay, like recognize like what aspects are for you and what aspects aren't for you. And so I just want to like say that kind of straight up. The perspective that I approach this album with is similar to Drew. I grew up on country music. That was my introduction to music. When I was growing up, that was the only radio that we listened to. We didn't listen to pop radio. I didn't really listen to it until I had babysitters. So when I was like 8, 9, 10. Before that, it was just country music. And I don't want to say that we made the switch as like a family to listening more to like pop radio until I was like a teenager. So this is the kind of music that I grew up on. This is the kind of music that informed what I think about as like good music and what I'm drawn to musically, which of course we've talked about quite a bit on this show is I'm a songwriting person. I'm drawn to lyrics. And I think that a lot of that is because for me, the best country music and the best country songs, they're about their stories, they're narrative songs. I mean, country music is the genre of the story song. To me, that's like the hallmark of country music. When I like close my eyes and think about what is a great country song, like it's a song that tells a story. It's a song that like is simple and direct and easy to understand and makes you feel something. And there's just this like, I think at its best, there's this power of transportation when you listen to country music. It can, make you feel like you understand walks of life that are so far removed from your own. It kind of points out the universality of the human experience, which I think is really great. And so that's the perspective that I approach this album with, as somebody who loves country music and also as somebody who loves Beyonce. So yeah, it was a very interesting album to listen to for the first time, obviously, when it came out. And then revisiting it, I feel like every single time I've listened to it all the way through, like I've noticed different things and like different things have worked better or worse or whatever. And so this past go around, I was really struck by the moments that I responded to more than others. And I think that the moments that I'm so into this album are kind of when she goes off of like what Drew was talking about, how her saying this isn't a country record, this is a Beyonce record. I think I'm most drawn when like she's at her most like Beyonce on here. And not saying that there aren't like country elements or whatever, but when she's really like mashing up genres and like creating something kind of unique out of all the tools that are in her toolbox on this record. I look at a song like Yaya as an example of that. Yaya's a crazy song. That song is bonkers. I mean, there's a freaking Beach Boys like interpolation, which is nuts. And but it's also kind of like flamenco-y and like, but also kind of like country-y. And it's this weird combination that also kind of has this like, I don't know, maybe like kind of hip-hoppy beat. It's just bizarre, but in a really, really great way. And like that's the kind of like mashup that I think is so interesting and I'm really drawn to. So I don't know if that's maybe like the more experimental moments on this record are the ones that I get really excited by. Obviously, overall, like the level of musicianship is incredible. I mean, her voice is just unparalleled, and the way that she can arrange vocal arrangements, the way that she stacks vocals, oh my God. Like a big highlight for me are the vocals on American Requiem. I love American Requiem as an opener. I think it is so strong. I have that part, them big ideas, yeah, are buried here. Yeah, I've had that stuck in my head ever since the Cowboy Carter tour opening night, and there's that video of Oprah in the audience, like not knowing the words, but realizing that there's cameras on her, and so she's like performing like being moved by the song, but she doesn't know the words because Oprah famously doesn't know the words to any piece of music ever. I've had it stuck in my head every single time, and I can only see like Oprah like acting her face off. It's so funny. If people don't know what that is, go find that video. It's hysterical. Yeah, so like I think that is such a strong opener. Oh, that kind of also ties into something else I wanted to point out. There's so much religious imagery on this album, which
Yeah.
is so interesting. And specifically, like so much of the religious imagery is like very like Catholic. Like there's like talks about rosaries and stained glass and holy trinities. And it's interesting because obviously like talking about God, I think is a big trope in country music, but like Catholicism isn't. That's not what I think of when I think of the South or when I think of country musicians. And I don't, did Beyonce grow up Catholic? Like, she didn't grow up Catholic, did she? I don't think she did. Uh, so it's just kind of interesting. I've noticed that a few times. It's like, oh, like that's like not something that I would say maybe like the average country listener in the South, a Baptist would relate to that imagery, which I think is interesting. It's kind of like a little bit of a play on what the traditional kind of religious country imagery would be. I think everybody knows that like Beyonce is such an incredible vocalist. She's an incredible musician. And as a songwriter, I think that her talents, besides just like arranging vocals, really lie in her ability. So many people have talked about this, to kind of be like a Frankenstein doctor, the way that she can take bits and pieces of different songs and different parts and put them together, combine them in really interesting ways to create a whole. Like she does that so wonderfully. And if you like, are interested, I mean, you can like search up collaborators of hers talking about the way that she's able to do that. Like there are these videos on YouTube of her in the writing camps for the self-titled album, and it's so interesting to like watch the way that like people like present her things that like they've worked on, and then she like takes little bits and pieces, like takes a hook here, a verse here, and then like combines them with an idea of her own. Like that is such a special and very unique skill that I think is really specific to her. I would say though, I don't think that her talents as a songwriter really they don't lie in the song in like the lyrics and like lyricism. And I think that something I have a hard time with on this record is for me, country music is such a lyrics forward and lyrics focused genre of music. I mean, you can listen to so many country albums that are pretty much just like guitar strumming, maybe some like light percussion and people singing. And what's important, obviously, there are the melodies, but the words. They're telling stories. And it's it's interesting to like hear somebody who that's just not their wheelhouse tackle a genre where that very much is the wheelhouse. And uh there are moments where it just doesn't really like feel the way that I maybe want it to feel or feel the way that I think like the best kind of country music feels. I think there are moments here where the songwriting honestly kind of dips to me into purple prose. And so for those of you who don't know what that is, purple prose is a literary term that describes really like flowery, ornate, overly descriptive writing that can make a text really hard to understand and decipher. And I think there are a lot of moments on this record where she dips into like super flowery language and like very visual adjectives and descriptions of like nature and what have you. And it's just like, that's not really what I think of when I think of country music. Like, that's not in the country music that I grew up on. Um, I don't really think of like purple prose and super flowery language. Not saying that you can't have metaphors or like whatever or literary devices, but there's just like a weird element to me. And I think that there are moments where instead of like telling stories and like creating characters or what have you, we are like using Western quote unquote imagery. Um, and it sometimes feels a little bit hollow to me. And it can, I think, move the record away from like a transcendent, like combination of what she does and country music to like a pastiche. And a pastiche is an imitation of another kind of work or artist or period. It doesn't feel as fully developed as like the moments on Renaissance do, where it's obviously a house music album and it's about dance music and house and what have you, but it's so connected with her as an artist and it's just so in sync. And I think a lot of that is because it's not a lyrics focused genre of music. It's music, 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 and it's the beat and it's the production. Um, so yeah, that's something that I have a hard time with on this record. I just feel like the kind of like it sometimes feels to me like the idea of country music that somebody has who's not really into country music. And I've listened to it multiple times across large periods of time and like that's always the feeling that I get away from it. And there's moments that I really really am into it, but then there are a lot of moments where I just am kind of like sitting back and observing and I'm like I respect it a lot. I respect what's happening, and I respect the level of craft, the way that she's playing with history, the way that she's making references, but it doesn't like transcend or like fully gel together as an album. And the last thing I want to point out is I think it's pretty long. I think it's pretty long out. I mean, it's 27 songs, and of course there are some of those interludes, which I love the format of like a radio show. I think that's so cool. But even without those interludes, it's still a very, very long album, and I don't think the pacing of it is as good as I know that she's capable of doing. Some of I think the best paced album, like Lemonade, is an example of the way to perfectly pace an album, and I think this record starts out really slow. I think it is a slow start. I think the first chunk of it for me um, isn't super engaging. I would say it's around like Bodyguard and then like getting in like Daughter and Spaghetti and Alligator Tears. Like that's when like I feel like it's really fully formed and I'm really super into it. And then it teeters out a little bit to me at the end. Like I would say like the last three songs to me. I mean, Riverdance and Two Hands to Heaven, like that back to back is pow pow pow, Belisa Bellissimo. It's so good. But Sweet Honey Buckin' and Amen, like I don't know, there's it kind of mellows out in a way that I don't really find super satisfying. So yeah, I just don't know if I'm like in love with the way that it's currently sequenced and paced. But those are my thoughts on Cowboy Carter. I mean, and it's like an incredibly impressive body of work. And I think it's so cool that at this stage in her career where she doesn't have to take chances. I mean, she's Beyonce, like she could do whatever she wants. She's continuing to really push herself, um, and do things that are outside of her wheelhouse and outside of what people expect from her, and that she's constantly kind of like reinventing what we think of as a Beyonce song. So I just have a lot of respect for that.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you both. Yeah, I mean, super cool to hear what you guys think. And I feel like I resonate with many things that both of you guys said. Just as far as like my kind of like personal experience and opinions about the album. Um, so yeah, so I'll kind of get into my take, but I mean, first word that comes to mind, legendary. And it's just like it's just interesting because as someone who has no experience or, prior relationship with country music, I didn't grow up listening to country music at all from Michigan, where people like to think that they're country, but they're not.
People
Like,
do.
oh, yes.
Girl,
There's
you're in
like
Michigan.
multiple country festivals that will occur where people like cosplay that they're country people for a mo. It's
What is
crazy.
happening?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, like dress up and have fun. I mean, obviously it would like be a little bit more in vogue now to do that because of Beyonce, but like people just like fully commit to the bit of like being like Western.
Hmm.
So it's like a little bit funny. But do you please. Um, but yeah, like I had no experience or prior relationship with country music. I think for a long time I was kind of one of those people who was like, "Oh yeah, I'll listen to anything except country music." I feel like you hear a lot of people say that, and at first, like when I was someone who had kind of like held that belief, like I didn't know country music went past, um, or maybe wasn't willing to see what came before the like kind of corny, like contemporary country music that people oftentimes are referring to when they say, I hate country music, I'll listen to anything except country music. So I think I would be, I'd be beside myself if someone still having that belief of like, oh, all country music is just crap and I'm not willing to listen to anything under the guise of country music, who then would not be willing to listen to Cowboy Carter. Because again, I'll echo the same statement that, Drew mentioned that Beyonce had said that it's a Beyonce album, not a country album. Obviously, there's a lot of that influence here, and there's a lot of nuance throughout it and a lot of commentary about it. So I think there's just so much to learn from this. This is a really interesting album to, have some of those annotations up with it and just kind of cross-reference and see where things are coming from, seeing what samples that she's pulling, what she's interpolating. So yeah, like I would just definitely encourage anyone who is not willing to listen to country music to give this a try. I also love the concept of it being a radio broadcast. The interludes are really neat and like it's not an album experience where I'm like, ugh, I'll just skip the, you know, 50-minute track. Like, no, I'm going to enjoy the experience, listen to the whole thing. I think I mentioned this when we talked about Renaissance, but um knowing that Act Two has this like very fleshed out experience of interludes and it's a lot longer, just makes me a little bit heartbroken that Renaissance, there's a world where Renaissance could have been like that, and it could have had those bits from the Renaissance tour where there's like the interludes in between sections of songs that I was just so obsessed for or obsessed with, and I like yearn for the experience of like having all of that in the studio album. So like sometimes my heart just aches a little bit because they're not there, and if they were, like we'd achieve world peace maybe. But like, I love that concept of having it be radio broadcast. One of my favorite movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the soundtrack is actually built like a radio broadcast as well, and features little like radio ads and snippets in between all the songs that appear in the movie, which is so cool. So just a little tidbit there. Um, but actually so funny. Right before Renaissance, or excuse me, right before Cowboy Carter had came out, I had just gotten into Ethel Cain. So I was listening to Preacher's Daughter all the time right before this came out. So I was somewhat in maybe I guess that kind of like southern kind of vibe of just like getting
You
ready
were
for
in a
something.
house in Nebraska.
I was in the house in Nebraska. Like I was just getting myself ready for something that wasn't so like glittery pop, you know? But then also the gag of like really listening to Preacher's Daughter all the time. And then the song on Cowboy Carter, Just for Fun, starting on the exact same note that A House in Nebraska starts on. And I was like, oh my God. And Drew and
You're the
I,
only one that knows that.
I'm the only newsflash. I'm now letting the world know that they start on the same note. But Drew and I stayed up until midnight to listen to the album come out. And I was actually in Michigan at the time, so it was actually midnight for me. And I had probably gotten like 3 hours of sleep the night before and had to be up early that next day. So I was so sleep deprived that next day. And I'm like shaking and I'm like, well, I listened to Cowboy Carter right when it came out. I can like barely get through my work day. So I was like in shambles, but I did not regret it because I will never forget live texting Drew when we had both gotten to Daughter and then we get to the Caro Mio Ben part and we were both like ascending. It was insane. That was such an experience.
I forgot about that. Like
Yeah.
literally, Caro Milbian.
Yeah. It was crazy. So yeah,
Wow.
and I think the samples,
Performed by every high school soloist of all time in choir.
yeah. But yeah, I think the samples throughout are really, really cool. A lot of neat interpolations. And also the covers being Blackbird, written by Paul McCartney, and then Jolene are just so cool. Like I'm so obsessed with it. Also just like how expensive was it? Because I'm pretty sure she takes like the exact recording, like the original recording of the guitar from Blackbird. So I'm just like,
Oh,
that
wow.
must have, because I mean, like, as a Beatles fan, I would hope that I would be able to recognize, like, if it was a new performance of the guitar, if it was the original one. I'm like 94% sure it's the original one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that must have been an investment to be able to use the original recording. Like, I think about that every time I listen to the song. But, um, but yeah, so cool. I do also share the same experience as Drew of like being a huge, huge fan of Renaissance. I also agree that's my favorite concert experience, or like favorite show I've been to, like production wise. And Renaissance also being one of my favorite albums ever. So it's a little bit hard for me to, kind of put this one side by side, like not having that experience with country music, and then also again, like just not being my ultimate bread and butter, but also, wanting to, enjoy it and, also having something to learn from it too. So I think it's just very rich in that sort of way. Something also is just like not to rely on visuals as a way for like the artist to tell me what I should be thinking and feeling and seeing when I'm listening to the music, but just knowing the potential of the visuals for an album like this and Renaissance, knowing how otherworldly like music videos and stuff would be for these albums, it's just hard not having them. Like I feel a little bit greedy, but I'm just like they would be perfect. Like if we had the Renaissance visuals, they would be perfect. These visuals would be perfect. And it's hard knowing that there's stuff that's been like filmed that we just haven't seen. So I'm just like, ugh, I'm very curious to see like what comes to fruition once the trilogy is wrapped, if there's anything else that we get, but just saying, I would love to know more about the world that she's building that we're not necessarily seeing, that's not being given to us. And with that too, I think what something that Levi touched on is like the narrative of this album is really interesting. I personally kind of see this album as having like multiple characters. I'm not really sure like who all they are, but I feel like at certain points it feels like a little bit more like autobiographical Beyonce songs, and then certain songs maybe like Daughter feels like she's like it's
Hmm.
a different character in this like universe that's being created. And I know there's like a lot of like Beehive like fan theories of like all of these different characters or something like existing in like a separate universe and like whatever. Like I know there's like some bigger like rumored narrative that I'm like not super tuned into, but it's definitely something that's talked about. So maybe I just have to like look into it a little bit more, but that's always kind of what my feelings about this. It feels like some of this different characters within this universe, which I find really interesting. Um, Again, like Drew said, it's just hard kind of having just that feeling like because these are all in this three act have to compare to Renaissance. Definitely respect both of them for everything that they're doing as far as like kind of take like honoring multiple genres and all of that. So I have so much love for both of them, but Renaissance is that girl. But love Cowboy Carter. I kind of took a long break from it for a while, but now that I've been listening to it again in preparation for recording this, I've definitely just been adding more of the songs from it into my typical rotation. And it's also fun because it's summertime and this feels like such a summer album. So yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It has like a lot of lightness.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Cool. Well, thank you both. That was such a fun discussion, and I honestly have no idea where we're going for our favorite and least favorite tracks. Like, I don't know what to expect from either of you guys, so
I
definitely
only want to
excited.
say that 16 carriages is going to be in yours because I know you love that meme of 16 carriages where like the woman
That lady.
yeah, I know you love that meme.
It's so good. It's so good. And I have two friends that we watched the Grammys together this year, and we like just made jokes about 16 carriages like all of the time. So we actually renamed our group chat 16 carriages. So now every now and then we're just like, oh my God, just saw 16 carriages on the street or like something super silly and stupid. So 16 carriages is just like so funny. But yeah, that meme just made it so funny. The 16 carriages. So.
Yeah, you're right though. I have no idea where you guys think. No idea. And I have no idea what your me's are going to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do the me's first then. We'll do our least favorite tracks first. So, Drew, you can go ahead.
Okay, mine was really hard to choose my me. Um, and I was thinking about doing this song as my me, and then I literally just did a Peloton ride right before we were recording, and this song was in the Peloton ride, and I was like, no, this is my me. I, I really just don't vibe with it. And Levi kind of touched on like how it comes in kind of a weird part of the album. Um, Mine is Sweet Honey Buckin'.
Mmm.
For me, it also, like, I know she's not directly trying to, side by side do Renaissance versus Cowboy Carter, but like this song and where it's placed, and obviously it being called Honey and it being kind of a similar vibe as like Pure Honey, it kind of gives me the vibe as like this, and they both come in similar places in both albums. Um, so I don't mean to compare, but like if you were to compare both Sweet Honey Buckin and Pure Honey, that would just be very unfortunate. But just talking about Cowboy Carter, it still is my least favorite on it. So yeah,
Dang. Which instructor put it on their ride?
it was Cody.
What
Oh,
was the
okay.
theme?
There wasn't really a theme for this one, so it was just kind of like a bunch of pop girlies. There's a lot of Charlie on it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like this song, like Sweet Honey Bucket interspersed with other Charlie songs would make me like it less. So,
Well, I was already thinking about it, and then when it came up, I was like, "Why is this song on this ride?" And then when I was, exercising, I was like, "Yeah, I really don't like this." And then I was like, "It's toward the end of the ride," and I was like, "Well, fuck this! I'm putting this as my me." This was like a sign.
oh my gosh,
Um,
that's too
but
funny.
she sounds great in it. It's just not. I don't really like it. So
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Um, well, it's not my me, but I mean it's not towards the top. But my me is unfortunately because this was maybe I think my most anticipated song when well, no, my most anticipated song was the one with my name in it. But my maybe like real most anticipated song when the track list came out is Jolene. The Jolene cover does not work for me at all.
oh,
Uh, I think Jolene is like one of those perfect songs that you don't need to like change or edit. Dolly Parton is one of the great country songwriters, and obviously, I think it's been proven that you can cover her songs and not change the words, and have a successful cover. I mean, I would say maybe the best cover of all time is a cover of a Dolly Parton song, "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston. Like, nobody denies that Whitney made it her own, but the words aren't different. Like, she didn't change the way that the song is written. I don't like it because I think it misunderstands what makes the original song work because the original song is about an insecure narrator. That's like what makes the drama of the song really interesting is that she's begging Jolene not to ruin her life and she knows that she has no power over her and so the only thing that she can do is ask. Like that's a really interesting kind of dramatic situation. This Jolene doesn't have that. It's like I don't really believe that the narrator singing this song would be talking to Jolene if you're queen, why are you worried about Jolene? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I understand. I think like there's parts of kind of just I think Beyonce is an artist like who's really dedicated to showing the strength of women, specifically Black women. But I would prefer like a different song. Like it already feels like we've changed so much of what makes the original Jolene good and wonderful. And like again, I don't really think Beyonce's a lyricist. And so if we're changing the lyrics to like one of the best country songs of all time, it's kind of a high bar that you're setting for yourself. And yeah, I think it's just kind of emblematic of the things about this record that don't really work for me. So yeah, it's sad because I really wanted it to be my favorite, but it just does not. It's not for me.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. Wow. T. Well, my least favorite song is Texas Hold'em.
Oh,
I honestly don't really like anything about this song. Um, I think, like, not to be harsh, but like I would never really choose to pick this song if it wasn't like kind of in the somewhat ish bottom. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say it was in the center, but I forgot the placement of it and it's like not. But whatever. Like I would only listen to it within the experience of listening to this album, and I feel like it's a little sparse. And I kind of agree with Drew with like being kind of underwhelmed by the singles. Um, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of hard, but I don't feel like the singles are super representative of the Cowboy Carter experience, so to speak. But I just feel like the song itself is like really sparse. I just don't really enjoy how it sounds. So that's
Do
my
you have
main.
a song that you would have selected for the lead single instead?
Um,
I was
Probably
gonna, yeah.
Yaya.
Okay.
Because I think it's f like fun enough to be a lead single that can like satisfy the general populace as like something that's fun that you can dance to. But I feel like it also has that call to action or thesis in there of like kind of reclaiming the genre and kind of what the mission of the album
Hmm.
is. So that's probably what I would put as a first single.
Drew, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, I feel like with these no visual kind of errors that she's doing with, the three act structure, I wish she wouldn't do singles because she literally is just releasing the song, but like we're not really getting like any of the visual landscape of it. Like I wish she would do like what Taylor does, where she just kind of like gives you the track list and then you can kind of like come up with ideas in your head and then listen to it in full. Because I mean, I guess Texas Hold'em does kind of give you like an idea of what the sound is going to be. I don't really know why we needed both Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages. Like, I'd be interested to see why she decided to do both of them. Um, but I wish she wouldn't have done singles. Like, I don't know what I would have thought. Maybe like, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I was thinking maybe Jolene,
Oh, well, maybe it would work
but
for
it
some
would have
people.
because that song is very like I've heard both sides of that song, both how Levi thinks and like people who really love it. So I don't think that would have been a good idea to do as a single because I think it would like make the album divisive like immediately. So
I feel like
I don't
something
know.
like Bodyguard could have been I think Bodyguard is a song that I know a lot of people love. I've never heard anybody have a negative reaction to it. Um,
Yeah.
it is maybe a little like poppier than what the rest of the album is. But I just think it has this like sweetness and it's so catchy and it's like fun and inviting. I also think Riverdance could have been maybe an interesting. I also think Yaya could have been interesting. I don't know. I agree with you, Maria. Texas Hold'em is not one of my faves. I think it's a little
Yeah.
basic.
It could have
Yeah,
been cut too. Like I think
I agree. It didn't need to be on the album. It's not essential.
yeah.
it could. Yeah, yeah.
That's how I feel about a lot of those first songs. Like they're nice, but they don't feel essential to me the way that like a song like Yaya does. Like Yaya is the album. You don't get the Cowboy Carter experience without Yaya.
Right. Yeah. Hmm. Interesting.
There's
Okay.
definitely a like I feel like there's definitely a listing of these songs, including some cuts that make it like a 10.
Yeah,
Like
agreed.
like, and I think that's why it's kind of hard to judge this one, like, especially on like a numerical scale, because it has everything that it needs to be a 10, but like the things that detract it are like, how do you judge that, you know? We're
Right.
obviously not on where we're like going
Yeah.
the rating, but you know,
Yeah. Okay, well, Drew, do you want to do your
yeah,
favorite three, your Holy Trinity?
yes. So my three was the hardest for me to do. And I'm gonna go because I kind of already talked. It was between two for me, and I kind of already gave the Miley collab her flowers, so I'm not gonna go with it for my top three. I'm gonna go with Protector as my number three. I
Mm.
really love that song.
Oh my
I think it's
gosh.
a really beautiful moment. Um, yeah. And I like what Levi was saying about the first half kind of feeling a little slow. I feel like there's a world where she honestly could have cut both the Blackbird cover and 16 Carriages to make Protector seem a little, I don't know if that was something that,
Feel more like a moment.
because it's such a moment for me. Like I love that song and I love how I just love the meaning of that song and like her putting it on there. Um
It's like a good, like you get Blackbird into 16 carriages into Protector into My Rose. Like that's a solid run of like really kind of slow moments.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe those three could have because I love all three of those songs. Maybe they could have come in a different spot. Maybe we just needed more energy right after American Requiem. But I don't know. I feel like I resonate with what you said about the first half being very slow,
Yeah.
but I don't know what I would do to change it to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Protector is my number three. My number two is Riverdance.
Oh, love
I love
Riverdance.
Riverdance so much.
Yep.
Um, Again, like kind of what Leigh was saying, the perfect blend of like Beyonce country, but then also like blending in other genres into the Beyonce genre of country. So it's like it's very much like Alyssa Edwards' Snatch Game. Like it's Alyssa
Ah,
Edwards doing who did she
doing
did
Faye
Joan
Dunaway,
Crawford.
doing Joan Crawford.
Yeah. But it's like Alyssa doing
Great.
Alyssa Edwards, doing Faye Dunaway, doing Joan Crawford on the Snatch Game. So it's like so many things.
That's so
But
good.
and then my number one is Yaya.
Ah, great.
Yeah. I like really want to go to the concert just so I can experience that.
Real.
But
Okay,
yeah.
Levi.
That's a good top three. Um, okay, my three is Daughter. I love Daughter. I think that the sinister country song about killing somebody is essential to understanding the genre. I agree with you, Maria. She's totally playing a character here and love what she does here. And it's like a cool combination of this like country storytelling and this acoustic sound, but then she sings opera and it's like it's just this like dark, twisted vibe that I think is so interesting. I think it suits her so well. So yeah, that is my number three. My number two is Bodyguard. Bodyguard was immediate for me. I think it's just such a fun song. It's just so airy and bright and summery. I love the bounciness of it. Yeah, I think it's just a really, really fun song. And then my number one is Riverdance. Yeah, Riverdance is this just really beautiful, eclectic combination of like Irish like dance music, but then country. It's poetic in a way that I think really works as opposed to some other moments on the record. I think it's very sweet, but it's also really fun. I love it. Yeah, Riverdance is like a Beyonce classic for me.
Wait, what was your number two again?
Bodyguard.
That's right, that's right. Oh, that's a great top three.
Well, I'm biased, but I agree.
Also, sorry, I
I
was
also
distracted
love
because Lord just texted us
What'd she
twice.
say? Oh
Some voice
dear.
memo.
Oh yeah, girl, I'm not listening to that right now. Her voice memos are cuckoo.
Crazy.
Queen does not know how to be concise.
like how long are they typically?
Like a minute.
Oh, more than a minute. The very first one she sent was like 2 minutes, and I was thinking that we were getting an announcement, we were getting some kind of information.
No.
She's just talking, and she basically like everything's about to change, and no one knows. And she just is like rambling. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? With the emails, she was a little more streamlined. The thoughts were edited down a bit more.
Yeah, they
Now
were
that sh
edited.
now that
She
she
had a
has the
team of
capacity
copywriters.
to just send her random thoughts, dear Lord, I have no idea what I'm about to click into when this is done recording.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Well, I'll get into my top
Get
three.
into it.
So, my number three is actually Jolene.
Oh, it is.
Yes, it
Jolene.
is. Lean. So, I actually kind of enjoy everything that Levi said that he didn't like about the song.
That's interesting.
I think the like flipping of the narrative of it is really interesting and also enhances what's going on in Daughter. Of instead like being on her knees begging Miss Jolene to not take her man, she's like, "Yeah, you better not take my man." And then I know you tried it, so I'm gonna show you what's what. Kind of.
Okay.
Oh,
Um, okay. Woohoo. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Hey
yeah, yeah.
guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
You got so
Okay.
excited that it
That
just,
you lost the ability to speak for 20
it was like
seconds.
5 seconds. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Zoom was trying to come for me.
That's
My
okay.
God.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we got everything though. It's
Oh,
until you got out. So
lovely. Zoom said, "What if we just closed and opened back up?"
Doom was like, I
Love
agree
that.
with Levi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom said, fuck Jolene.
I'm gonna stand by. What's the lyric?
Uh,
I'm gonna stand by him, he'll stand by
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
no.
That was shady. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the twisting of the narrative is really interesting. And then yeah, I feel like it kind of enhances the narrative in Daughter. But I also just think like how the song gets enhanced instrumentally is really interesting. And I love the bridge that gets added so much. It sounds so lush and rich, and I really enjoy it. I don't have much, of a relationship with the original song aside from it being an iconic song of all time. But yeah, I think her version of it's really cool. So that's my number three. My number two is also Bodyguard.
Oh, my God, we're so in sync, kind of. Just for
We're
this
kind of
one.
in sync, except extremely juxtaposed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the like sweetness and the breeziness of this song, and I think it's just like such a fun little indulgent song and so perfect for the summertime. So yeah, I love Bodyguard so much. And then my number one is Two Hands to Heaven.
Oh, that's a really close for me. That's maybe like 4 or 5. It's a great song.
Yeah. I remember just like it took me a bit to like figure out like where like what my favorite songs on this were like in the months after it had come out. And then once I kind of started pairing Two Hands to Heaven with Virgo's Groove, I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, I see what's going on here. This is my favorite song."
There is kind of a pairing in that
Yeah.
last. I noticed it a lot in the last few songs in Cowboy Carter. She's doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Pure Honey gives such Sweet Honey Buckin is reheating Pure Honey's nachos. But
Yeah. I
but
mean,
I
it's interesting
taste the
though, because
difference.
right, you take yeah. Because Pure Honey is kind of like it has like two sections in it, and then Sweet Honey
Yeah.
Buckin has three, which is kind of neat. But no, I totally get what you're saying. But I mean, Riverdance and Two Hands to Heaven being right next to each other, just like insane, like the perfect like sister songs. But yeah, I just think Two Hands to Heaven is so good. Like super clear standout for me. And it has a meme. It's got that meme of that one lady dancing. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so iconic. And she was doing it at the tour too. Like Beyonce herself was like doing that dance, which is just so funny. So obsessed. But I know we've talked a lot about like what chunks of this album like work for us and what doesn't. For me, I feel like the bottom half is my favorite. Like probably Yeah Yeah Through the End is my favorite of the album, like by far. I'm personally not super bothered by the start of it being somewhat slow. I hadn't really thought about that until you brought it up, Levi. But honestly, the middle of this album is what works for me the least.
Oh,
I
Like
that
the
agree with
that's what
that.
works for okay, that's what works for me the most. That's so funny.
Yeah, like I'm not really excited by the Miley song. I'm not really excited by the Post
Oh,
Malone song.
for
Like
me,
those,
it gets a little wonky, like the spaghetti alligator tears into smoke hour 2 just for fun. Like that middle section, I feel like we just need to cut it.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's just kind of my take on it. But yeah, well, let's get into our ratings then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Perfect.
Drew Fork, let's have you go first.
I'm gonna give it a 9.2. Because like, especially after talking about it today, I was gonna go in a little lower, but I I think a 9.2 is fair because I think it has everything it needs to be like a high nine, even like a 10 kind of thing. I just think there are just things that detract it, but I don't think it's below a nine. So 9.2.
Okay, Maria.
Nice. Well, I kind of agree exactly with Drew. Yeah, I feel like giving it anywhere below 9 would be like extremely offensive. Um, but there's, some parts of this where I'm like not crazy about it, but when I do listen to it, I do enjoy it. I mean, again, like Texas Hold'em is probably the one that I'm like maybe rolling my eyes a little bit at, but other than that, everything on this I think is an enjoyable experience and obviously I think is a very contextually rich piece of art that, is more than just a collection of songs. Like it's definitely something to learn from in a similar way that Renaissance is. But, I just think what she's doing here with the axe is very interesting and I'm excited for Act 3. But yeah, I'm going to agree and give it a 9.2 as well.
Well, I hate to break the pattern. I'm giving it an 8.5, which I think is a very respectable score. Sorry if you think it's offensive, Maria. Um, but
Well, okay, since it's you, it's no longer offensive.
I think my
Maybe I
thing
was
is
speaking in big generalities there.
like I can't give it somewhere in the nines. I just think that would be untruthful for me. I mean, I gave Renaissance a nine, which I think is a very fair assessment of my relationship to that album, where I think it is so like immaculately created and perfect. There's just like a part of it that just doesn't emotionally connect with me. Um, and I think that like that's representative of me not being a 10 for that record. But this is like, again, I'm a little bit out removed from it. I'm more removed from this album than I am with Renaissance. And then I think that there are more things that I think could have been changed. And I have more gripes with this record. So I don't think I could feasibly give it the same score as I gave Renaissance. And I think 8.5 is like representative of the really overwhelming quality of musicianship, her ability as a historian, as a commenter on American history and music history. But, there's just like, I think there are moments with the songs are just lacking for me. And I think that there are some fundamental parts of this record that I don't really vibe with. So I think 8.5 is a fair score. And that is,
Yeah.
I kind of hold my hand tanked because the average score is an 8.96.
Oh, oh,
Well, hey, I don't discredit you for giving it a score that's true to your experience with it. I mean, that's totally fair, and you're totally right. You're right about that. No, I mean, I think what you said is extremely valid. So, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm happy I'm not offensive.
No,
The
no, you're
beehive is
being
gonna come
silly.
after me. They're gonna send me like dead bugs. The Beehive are scary. Do you guys remember that SNL skit from like the 2010s where like the Beehive or this like spy agency that like wipes people out who say bad things about Beyonce?
I actually don't.
Oh, well,
I
it's a
don't
good one.
remember either.
Oh,
Oh,
I have to
well,
look that up.
it's good.
Well, wasn't there that one show that was like, I can't forget I forget what it was called, but like Billie Eilish guest starred on it.
Oh,
Um,
Swarm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like supposedly kind of inspired by a Beyonce like pop star and
yeah,
like the Beehive. Yeah. I never watched it though. Not a big TV
yeah,
person. Well, thank you, Maria, for bringing us to
yeah,
the
thank you.
country.
yeah. So, okay, so final poll to close this out before we talk about next week. But do you guys think that Act 3 is rock? I mean, I know people have talked about Act 3 being rap or being something else, but like, do you want to lock in your guess for what it's going to be?
I think it's
Rock.
rock.
I think it's
Okay, I
rock.
think so too. It
I
better
don't
be.
think rap doesn't make that doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure.
Why are people saying that?
I don't, I'm just reporting on what's being thrown around.
Well, because it's like that's I think
She
still a
does.
genre.
She's done rap before.
She's done a lot of rap, and also I think that is a genre that is still like we recognize the contributions of black rappers and like we understand kind of the history I think more readily. Like the black musicians who are part of shaping rock music have been erased. So that just
Right.
makes the most sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with who is gonna if she is going to do collabs, who's gonna be on it.
Haley Williams better be on it. I don't give a shit.
I
Haley
want
Williams.
Alanis on it.
Ooh, love Alanis.
I'm trying to think
Maria?
who else.
I know I was like silent for a sec. PJ.
Oh,
Oh,
Kamikaze,
We need PJ
Kamikaze.
Harvey.
Kamikaze
Come
Beyonce's
on.
version.
I would
Literally.
die.
Andrew would ascend.
Or like another Jack White moment. Like, what if it's the whole album of Don't Hurt Yourself?
Yeah, I mean that would be the
That's what I'm
gag
saying.
city.
Oh my God. I can't
It's
even
gonna be
imagine.
rock. Come on.
I really hope it is. Please. Okay.
Please.
Yeah, thank you for discussing Cowboy Carter with me. It was so much fun. Levi, do you want to tell us what we're doing next week?
Yeah. No, I love talk. This is just such a complex record to talk about. I feel like we could have talked about it for like another hour. But yeah, I'm really excited. We are doing this is big. This is big for Pop Girlies. What's about to happen?
Hmm.
Um, yeah. I'm very
Levi's doing
excited.
Taylor.
I'm doing Torture Poets again. Actually, I didn't feel like we talked about it enough.
Anthology.
Not the anthology, just the standard.
We didn't talk about it enough.
We didn't talk about it enough. We got to get Maria to like Florida.
Girl, good
Well,
luck.
well, no.
Track 8.
Um, uh, no, I'm super excited. I will be covering a man, which just nobody ever thought that would happen. I really wanted to switch things up, and we are covering an artist that I don't even think we've mentioned on the show, who I would say is easily like one of the most influential artists of the century. This is an album that I love a lot. It's, I think, a really important album in a lot of ways. We are going to be doing Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. So
Yay.
I'm super excited. I don't really feel like we've done a straight up like R&B album, have we?
Yeah.
I don't think
No.
so.
No, because the Beyonce albums that we've done are not the R&B albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, I'm
No,
very
I mean it's
excited.
like a completely different kind of music than uh what I normally have talked about and I think what we've normally covered. So I'm super excited.
Yay.
Yay.
Very
Well,
excited.
Maria's favorite part of the show.
Yeah, Maria, go first. I'm not even gonna look.
Do your exit pun.
All right, you guys. Well, I'm gonna go get on my 16 carriages and ride out of here.
Amen.
Are you putting two hands to heaven while you're riding? Do you ride it like a
Well,
tyrant?
yes. Yeah, yeah. Ugh.
uh, We did it.
We
I'm gonna
did
Well,
go
it.
cry some alligator tears.
Yep.
oh,
We did it just for fun.
Oh,
Maria more than one.
yeah,
More
Drew,
than
how do you like
one.
that? Being on the other end of the greed.
No, I already said mine. I said amen.
Well,
Okay.
that's all that we have for you
That's all the
folks.
All
puns
right.
by
Bye,
Pop Girlies
Shanti.
Nation.